it seems, I could look back. Anything that has crossed my paths I would mother, any semblance of family elocution I'm mother, all felled logic familiar, huddled for warmth in the space between us, that's what distance does to us. This gilded foremost endeavor, clinched in chlorophyll, wrapping tendrils toward the sun, at every breath my countenance. My long path to wholeness, no country can grant me that. My lonesome three-fifths, the precise mathematics of partition all across my selvage. Yesterday I sat with the ocean, seeking out its white noise, held a shell up to my ear, settled into its subterfuge. I took a sound recording of the waves, sound wave speculation. What's with the undercurrent? All these ocean grifters, what the flotsam water held in staunch relief. Yesterday I rose from my bed Saturday morning, rode the ferry outbound, all New Amsterdam's soundless current, polyphonic noise system. No language was stayed. I broke with tradition. Hello? I called into a black vacuum. What I got was the virtuous salt sonic. What I got was a reply. Order comes to the house of worship. I slid my fingers through the hot sand. The sun burned my right leg, I let it. The planes they flew overhead, I let them. The seagulls drifted outbound, let them. All birds alight when bruised, if their wings will carry them. Hello, I called into a vacuous island. From the bird's eye we see the other islands. From the bird's eye any light? From the bird's eye pinprick. From the bird's eye the sun was burning my leg, I let it. I counted 17 planes. I would triple that to count the gulls. I listened to the May ocean. I was still marooned in May. I was taking flight in May. I did my day as I wanted. I was still childless. I took my time to get to the ocean. I rode the ferry lengthwise. I loved how its motor trilled, strumming us through its cerulean back channels. All prayers supplanted, every pew held our bodies. When we got to the waters, all the oak pews faced the Atlantic, to carry us outbound silk coffers, to sit with the words held in the pews. The sun burned a hole right through me, I let it. It was a better means to supplant the missives. The pews got filled with our bodies, our linen garments cuffed by him by selvage, salt-lined and miasma, little grains of sand embedded, how the water ebbs and the tides bind. A few came with their long rods and birches, all the branches peeled back. The order was in the hour of the workhorse, the others were in the house of worship. Any small act delivers the Lord's vested ships. Next we managed to heap the lumber. We dressed our hands in the lumber gloves, and we used the Granberg sawmill and its guiding system. We felled the trees and trusted they become lumber, wasted not a single splinter, all lumber cast from selvage. Diligently the Bostrichidae emerged from their exit wounds, circular fissures in the wood's surface. We stowed inside them in ardent language. Undo the pestilence, smoke out the dense lattice, the dead rising right to the surface. Or better yet, let them live. They built the ship's deck around us. We remained in the pews. We closed our eyes as a protective message. We cupped our hands to our ears and amplify any noise, direct conduit to any ocean. Under this pestilence, the ship's berth is coming together. During the long construction, we never rose from the pews. We knew the order was in the hour of worship. One by one, the timber became what it could become. When we open our eyes, we're on the water. The Atlantic is a matriline. Wake, borehole, wave crest lumber, cadence, incandescence. All prayers a back channel, Mason-Dixon bifurcated, split along Garrett County. We touched the boat to bless it, touched all its minor parts, touched anything unruly. Beyond three-fifths is the rest of Plessy. The order was in the hour of the workhorse, doused our hands in the mineral oil we blessed it, this our finished vessel, so it would shunt us far from here. No map governed our journey, the nautical chart, a rote index of possible nexts, barren, void, electric language, no map yet governs us, thus no map governs our journey. The shrouds we tucked them in the hull, for whatever was coming, we were to live through it. For whatever was coming, we were to live with it. For whatever was coming, we were to live in it. We existed at the margins of the coda. We exited the ocean, all ovum rendered worthless, all ovum meritocratic, nothing else but progeny. No map yet governs us, thus no map governs our journey. I'm etching anything and whatever substance remains viscous. The workhorse bruised to a full canter, all working hours held in accord, long hours than long life. Countenance converge at wholeness. The numerator is filmy ocean, dividend the whole planet. All colonial demarcation, held in full credence, as if the earth existed just to suffer this pillage. The order was vested in the red moon. The order was in the hour of worship. How threadbare this trinity, selvage brackish viscosity, Mason-Dixon covenant. The sun shines its full distance. It casts its gaze how it wants it. And what it wants is the order of the workhorse. So what it gets is the order of the workhorse. So I wanted to read a poem that I wrote some time ago. It was right when, I don't know if anyone here has read Dion Brand's The Blue Clerk. Maybe you have. And I read it a few years ago and I read it, I often return to it. I return to it all the time. But I've read it for the first time, like right after it came out in 2018. Um, and I was carrying it with me everywhere. Everywhere I went, I just had it in my bag just in case I wanted to reference it. Even after I finished it, I just kind of kept it close to me, and it was such good company for those months. Um, and then I went to Mexico City like during this time when I was keeping the Blue Clerk close to me, and I brought it with me. And then when I got to Mexico City, I had this like very sure feeling that Dion Brand was just behind me, and I kept thinking, I was like, every time I turned around, I was like, I know she's going to be right there. And so finally, I wrote her and I told her, I was like, hi Dion, hope it's okay. I'm writing you. I have the Blue Clerk with me. I'm in Mexico City, and I really feel your presence so close, and I wonder if you're here also. And she wrote back right away and she said that she wasn't there, but she had just been there. She had just left. And I love knowing that. It reminded me of all the reasons that, um, I don't know, just um, the special kind of like attention and conjuring and magic and closeness and this kind of encounter that has been such an important part of um, my own work, this idea of like the with and the and this kind of threading and closeness. So I wrote this poem um, in Mexico City a few years ago, and um, for sure Dion was in my mind as I was writing it, but many other things too. Chapter 2, verses 1 to 30 for Dion Brand. All his 5 fingers were the mirror weight of the blue bird which I cupped, it with its broken leg, us at the end. The nail beds and undernails, yellow and matte, what matters is how he held the fruit. He placed for me in a bag the fruit of the market, which mattered because now the blue bag held the weight, the levied load. The blue bird limped, its blue wings an undercurrent, fluttering then stillness, blue in its movement, blue quiet articulation. I learned that if you are gentle with a bluebird, a sparrow, a dove, they will gently double back. I removed my sweatshirt, a guardian enveloping her nest. I put the bird where it belonged. I cupped the bird in my shirt and we drove on. I slowed my breathing. The bird nested against my chest. When I asked after the smallest fruit at the market, the man told me, peel back the flesh. The nail beds and undernails, carrion a budding breath, stillbird and bluebird contorting in the aftermath. The bird remained calm. The eye and I called the doctor. This is how we tended to each other. Subsequently, I requested 3 of each fruit, 3 guava, 3 apples, 3 mandarins, a third of a bucket of the new fruit, a third of the peppers available. The bird tried 3 times to escape. Each time I was humbled by its need for flight despite its broken wing. Each time my eye got me. I swiftly gripped back. I put the bird where it belonged, festooned in my grip, on the way to the animal doctor. Outside the birds are signaling in a chorus of thirds, and then for what's to come. I left the market with the 3 fruit tranches and the bluebird in the care of the able doctor. Sometimes I reference a picture of the bird. I have not yet pulled up the image of the blue bag with its thirds. It remains evident, immediate in my proximity. This week is a way to say that for a third of my life I have thought about flight. This week is to say that flight is divisible by 3, action, procession, and recompense. This week is to say the visual field is a variegated membrane with every kind of bird. I left the market with the tranches. As I left, the gentlest man, he who chose the fruit for me, sweetly, or I can only know this kind of distributive love as intending. As I left, the gentlest man, he who chose the fruit for me, assuredly, took my one hand in his 2 hands. My hands rested, aware that I could breathe, my gaze grace. There have been so many times where I have sheltered birds, and in turn where I have been sheltered by anything. Flight is the process of ascension, a future despite absence. Flight is the certain cool vacuum of levity, this load. We ride the air capriciously. Flight attenuates to birthright. Imagine all the loads we are meant to carry, the murmurations when they finally disperse. Imagine dispersal as a series of decisions, now dispersal as a series of angles, diaspora as the low, pregnant boomerang. There have been beloved times where I have sheltered birds, and in turn where I have been sheltered by whatever. All 5 fingers were the mirror weight of the bluebird which I cupped, it with its broken leg. He placed for me in a bag the fruit of the market, which mattered because now the blue bag tarries and waits. The load lightens. For breakfast, I feasted from the blue bag, tranching the fruit out in thirds. 3 is anything divisible by God. A triptych is a manifestation. A trilogy is a good succession. Triplets riven ovum 3 times. God is anything that bears a load. The swallow is the space between my God and the bluebird. A swallow is space between my God and the bluebird. So I will read this poem called L. It's called L, and it's written in conversation with Claire Wamenhold's piece called O. And I'll read it. L. Long live our loyalty, how it loops, falls, lumbers, lulls, enlists, finally resisting its own limpness. Long live anything that has long wished to live, the lasso, the lake, the limit, the left lane, the spices spinning on their lazy Susan, the lavender field at peak bloom, illustrious and oven hot, land and the outliers, land and the legion of the outer banks, land and the landed, latitude, and that was my limit until I looked left. What length we expect to cover in these longitudinal years. Early loops slice lengthwise to see their insides. The latent exercise of the loom, left to right, layered weft and warp, listening to its language, reached all across the living room. An antecedent to loyalty is drift. Drift or look away from the limit. Lemmy looked at the warped shapes inside the lava, angry loaves lifting the mouth of the mountain, then lifting clear off the mountain. Leavened loaves at the limit of their leavening. Left loaves, rock-hard obsidian, thoughts make. My yearling, even luxury has its limits, having lived or existed all year long. Love is a lifetime of long live our loyalty, how it loops, falls, lumbers, lulls, and lisps, finally resisting its own limpness. A lifeliner ulna, all my limber bones held in my left hand. I have placed the bones on a bay laurel wreath, placed the wreath inside a barrel, lined up the barrel alongside other barrels laden with laurels and ulnas. What to say of lavishing honor? What to say of laconic I once tried? What of leisure or lassitude? Lateral pines loosen at the ends of their branches, languishing before they fall, loop through the extra air. I am alone in the lake region, algae bloom at my ankles, lifting loaves lifting the mountain to make fresh archipelagos. So I'm going to read a couple pieces from a couple new pieces. This first one I wrote, it's in conversation with the sculptor, painter, and poet, the work of Howard Smith, who was an artist, a Black artist from Philadelphia, and he moved to Finland in the early 60s. And almost all of his working years were spent between Helsinki and a town called Fiskars, which is about an hour outside of Helsinki. And he came back to the States just for a little bit. But anyway, I didn't know about any of his work at all until last summer when I came across some of his work when I was visiting Fiskars Village. And this piece is called Mandible Wishbone Solvent, after Oracle Hero by Howard Smith. Roped in incremental ghost tens, future tens, clairvoyant tens, home tens. Blue slips beneath the exposed wing, tilt, then seam, then an angle spent all inside, the distance between thumb and thimble and fingerprint. Height exceeds, then brims, makes a solvent of it. What vaunted green excess enclosed in each skimmed year than the years, vanquish any fuchsia sky. The excess leaking forward, filmed aqua, filled aqua. Fastened by ulna, by increments of 10, fortunes sidled with, what have we when we give the mandible fragments by tens? Tender tilt at 90 to unearth blue slips beneath the exposed wing. Continents contain futures. You be here. You be here, tender tilt, remiss in skies, scant excess, enclosed in a film that gives more than brimmed solvents to rest time. And that piece is in the latest issue of poetry that just came out, the March issue. And these are two small pieces for Telenan, and yeah, I often return to her work and to her paintings. And during the daytime, I teach children. I teach young children, and every year I like to bring Attell's paintings to kindergartners and first graders and second graders and really all the kids I work with. And I love what like the conversations that her work brings to the classroom in the ways that it allows us to kind of think about what it means to return to something, because so much of Attell's paintings is Mount Tamalpais over and over and over again. And just the idea of returning to something and being able to see it anew and being able to find new ways into it again and again and again over the years is so instructive, I think, for always, and especially for children. And so, with that in mind, this idea of returning and this kind of like looped return, I'm just working on a small series of pieces for a towel. And this piece is called Shorn Treaded Red. It's after Satellites 27 by Attila Adnan. Ochre starts, commence catalyst, commence even song, enters. A flame lit arched and yearn, gleam twofold, weary but not from this life. In time, flame begets pools of shorn Decembers. Limber months evade us, the flood begets burnished, catalyst in a hem, treaded red, quaked. Side gleam and slide trifold, mirroring the fresh lake whirring, mirroring the whirring shorn wave. 11 nocturnes, you Fibonacci, you catacomb. And this one is also for a towel. It's called a symmetrical open plane curve. Early embers, deluge, slim still, ascendant still, caution, or I am still, calcium, verdant logic still. A threaded needle disciplined, a threaded needle carves a field. I am laden with early embers, I let them encase me. The arc of a blue cord skims, changed ember charged, slope up the bedrock, slope up the decay, up the easement, up the caution, up the frame. And I think I'll finish just with one piece that is in my book, and let's see, yeah, it's called The Back Door or The Lone Coast. Thanks again for coming tonight. It's really nice to see all of you and read some poems to you, and to have this time together to do that. So, The Back Door or The Lone Coast. Abnegation began in December, something to do with the raw nature of endings, to do with the saline clarity or finish. Abnegation, or I can have it both ways, as in part credence, part self-splayed. The heart line of my left palm extends to receive whatever it is you place in it. I bet it will be sustenance because I have known how it is to be fed. Abdication, or the act of annexing another country, or the act of crawling deeper into the hole of the purported days that act as some extension. I made a charcoal line in the wet cement while it was being laid, stuck a few pebbles in the corner as the cement set, knew each time I saw the pebbled surface would be reminded of the moment when I placed the pebbles in the pavement of the wet cement. I'm always half here, moving the bouquet around the house. Let its little shuddering petals fill me. Hold the neck of the vase, don't dare let it slip. Abnegation began in December, something to do with the self-made endings. Chlorophyll in the winter is a commitment, but possible. Train the pothos towards the sun so that it can also grow. Might as well let it grow if you plan to let the plants live. I could not burden you with this kind of abnegation, so instead took to the bed, stayed there all night, slept for the 8 hours of it, woke up on Saturday. My head leaked the message, everything set to orchestra pitch. The radio reminded me that that if I could commit, I could do it my way, place my foot in the black asphalt, take my foot to the cement for clearance. The cooler weather began in December. I didn't notice when the cloud coverage ended. My eyes were trained on the ground, and since I trained them, I saw the failings of my winter shelter. In the night, I sweat out all the abject days or humiliation. The ceiling fell around me, and I belatedly sought shelter under the desk. I asked my sister to join me when I awoke at the threshold. Snow banter of drywall, dreamlike in the sway. I awoke at the threshold, all cleave and cleft. Abnegation is a coolish lean lake slipping into the logic of threefold and deliverance. The hull marks its own shape. Abnegation is an aseptic aqua lake, kind of water all stylized and brute, all shelter shorn and brute, all gradient stalled becoming. I've seen this kind of water leaks out to life, something like a crosshatch, but I think he said we are only made by giving away what humble placeholders we are given, and what we are given was cultivated in a garden. Arkansas crosshatch, cane crawl down a corridor, faith talk and myrrh, or iron ore and oxidation. I have tried to board a flight, bird-like in furcula, wishing in my documents, night train in terror, apartments or gardens. I have tried to board a flight. I succeeded 78 times. Stamp marked my entry, foul language my exit, but anyways means nothing to me, barely matches my imprint. I retreat to the garden, let its language provide the slippage, let its countervalence get more vivid, let to lean. Between Christina Sharp and Torquase Dyson, what kind of space would you need to move 500 people quickly? I have used the blueprint as a maritime future, used it as a seafaring fold. All foul futures never rest. Blueprint I'll show the magistrate, and expect to claim what is mine, or at least clarify what I meant. I thought to ask permission, or to just erase the door from the back entrance, room to room to room to green finish, vaunted ceilings and picture windows, a vacuum or comfort in the cavity, comforted by the room, and oiled all the birch doors. Abnegation or the lone coast, the back door or the lone coast, clarify what I meant or the lone coast. Thank you so much. Thank you again.
Thank you, Asiya, for all those beautiful waves of return. And to Erica and Hannah for searching introductions, and to Lydia for kicking us off. Thank you for being here. We'll have 3 more events this semester. On the 6th of April, Emily Skillings will be here. And on the 20th of April, Benjamin Cruzling will be here. And then a last reading, and it's a shifted date, on the 4th of May, our current Holloway practitioner of poetry, no, lecturer in the practice of poetry. It's a very silly title, but not a silly person. Karen So Lee will be reading then. So please come back for all those events. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Asiya, Lydia. Thank you very much.
Thank you.